Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 411, a real Cleffa Hanger. The episode begins with Ash and the gang somewhat close to Mount Moon, at the foot of it, relaxing by a river, having a picnic, on their way to Ash's first Battle Frontier facility, which Max looked on his Pokénav to find out was called the Battle Factory. Misty was currently a part of the gang, but only until they reached Cerulean City, where the Battle Factory was located, because Misty had to go back to being a gym leader. But she was enjoying the company of Ash and the gang for now, as they ate. Ash and the gang had also sent out all of their Pokemon as well to rest on some picnic blankets and enjoy some food that Brock had prepared for them. As everyone was enjoying the scenery, looking around, Ash turned his attention to all of their Pokemon. May currently had Squirtle, Combuskin, and Munchlax as a part of her team. He had Pikachu, Phanpy, Grovyle, Swallow, and Corphish, while Brock had Fortress and Mudkip and Ludicolo. Wait, Ludicolo wasn't there. And Ash asked Brock where Ludicolo was, and explained that he missed Ludicolo's constant dancing, leading Brock to explain that when he showed Ludicolo to his brothers, sisters, and mom at home, they liked it a lot, and they really had fun dancing with it. So he decided to leave Ludicolo at his family home, hoping that its cheerful nature would help them maintain good spirits even while he was gone. And we see a flashback of Brock leaving his Ludicolo behind at his family home, where it would likely be used for gym battles as well. Damn, that kind of sucks, man. That Ludicolo just evolved like, what, 30 episodes ago and now he's gone already? Damn. Brock then notices May's new Squirtle and asks when she got back, because, they'd only been separated for, like, a couple days, and May reveals that Oak had given it to her in exchange for keeping her Bulbasaur at the lab, and she was very happy to have Squirtle as she petted it, which made Squirtle happy. Just then, Misty got a call on her Pokegear, which was basically just a phone in the Pokemon universe. She was kind of annoyed by the call, because she was just trying to eat Brock's food that he prepared, but she answered it anyway, especially when she found out that it was none other than her sister, Daisy, who requested assistance. Since the Cerulean Gym was currently packed with plenty of challengers eager to earn their Cascade badges officially from Misty through a battle, so she pleaded Misty to hurry up and get back to the gym. And we then see the Cerulean Gym from Daisy's perspective, where Lily and Violet were trying to calm down all the challengers, assuring them that the gym leader would be back soon. Daisy then somewhat threatened Misty, saying that if she didn't get back in time, then they could just, give out the Cascade badges for free until she got back. But Misty was entirely against that idea, and ordered her sisters to be patient until she gets home, promising that she'd be home soon. And scolds Daisy for even thinking of giving away Cascade badges for free, but she eventually calms down, realizing that this whole situation wouldn't have even happened if she didn't even leave the Cerulean Gym, and simply just hangs up the phone. Misty told the rest of the gang about the situation, so Ash stated that he was excited to get back on the road anyway, because the faster he could get to Cerulean City, the faster he could participate in his first Battle Frontier challenge. So he suggested they get on the road immediately, stating that they could probably get past Mount Moon right away, since they were at the foot of it. Knowing so, because he recognized the place all the way back from episode 6 of the series, when he was first there. The rest of the gang eagerly packed their stuff, and Misty grabbed Azurill, while Max got excited about the prospect of being near Mount Moon, because he knew that Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable were known to be near Mount Moon. May gets excited as well when Max tells her about this, but just as Ash and the gang were setting off to Mount Moon and Cerulean City, a rustle in the bushes caught their attention and stopped them from continuing on. Ash and the gang soon noticed that the rustling in the bushes was caused by a Cleffa, who very majestically bounced up toward the group, looking very happy as Ash and the gang looked on amazed at seeing such a cute Pokemon. Ash then pulled out his Pokedex to learn more about it, while Cleffa bounced around, waving happily at all of Ash and the gang's Pokemon. And he tries to play with Grovyle's leaves and Corphish's pincers, although Corphish wasn't that interested, instead just interested in eating its food. Ash and the gang were surprised to see a Cleffa this far from the top of Mount Moon, where they should have been, and were also shocked that it was revealing itself, as the Cleffa, being the younglings, usually would like to remain hidden, according to the Pokédex. While everyone else just looks at the Cleffa lovingly, May decides to take advantage of the Cleffa's seemingly outgoing nature, and goes up to it in an attempt to make friends with it, asking it if it would like to be friends. Cleffa didn't seem to be that outgoing though, as it wasn't a fan of May, and hid behind Munchlax, leaving Max to tease May that she must be too scary for Cleffa to handle, which makes May angry, as she asks Max to repeat what he just said in a threatening tone, which was basically her way of saying, look, if you say that again, I'm gonna beat your ass, and this leads Max to run away and hide behind Misty. Misty, seeing that Cleffa was scared, thought that maybe her Azurill, also being a baby Pokemon, much like Cleffa, could bond with it and comfort it, so she told her Azurill to go and comfort Cleffa and try and play with it. Azurill does so, jumping out of Misty's arms and extending its tail out for Cleffa to play with. And Cleffa did, amazing May at how easy Azurill was able to calm Cleffa down, leaving Max to remind May of her failed attempt to calm Cleffa down, which pisses May off, and she was about to yell at Max to no end, but she was cut off when a strong wind picked up and pulled Azurill and Cleffa away. Ash and the gang were confused and panically looked around to see where this wind was coming from, only to see that it wasn't wind at all. It was instead Team Rocket, who had showed up and had attached another sucking device to their Meowth balloon by welding it to it, and they were the ones sucking Cleffa and Azurill in, and they were trying to suck all the other Pokemon in as well. Ash knew he had to do something quick, so he quickly told Swallow to fly up and retrieve Cleffa and Azurill before they were sucked in. Swallow does manage to grab a hold of Cleffa and Azurill and brings them back down to the ground, safely not being sucked in himself, thankfully. Ash congratulated Swallow, but Team Rocket just laughed, not concerned at all that they had failed to capture Cleffa and Azurill, as they simply just continue to laugh when Meowth uses a remote control to increase the power of the sucking machine to full power, powerful enough to even get Combuskin, Fortress, Munchlax, Corphish, Grovyle, Swallow, just all of the Pokemon off of the ground. All the Pokemon except Pikachu, that is, because Ash held on to Pikachu with his bare hands. This infuriates Team Rocket, especially Jessie, who didn't want to let Pikachu get away. Like, they would sacrifice any of the Mons aside from Pikachu. So Jessie sent out Seviper to do what the sucking machine couldn't do, which was capture Pikachu. Although, before Seviper could go in for an attack, Ash tells Pikachu to use Thunderbolt, but Jessie quickly has Seviper counter with a Poison Tail, which smashes right into Pikachu before it can use Thunderbolt, sending it flying backwards and into a rock. With Pikachu down, and Ash getting too shocked by the fact that Team Rocket was actually doing good against them to actually do anything to save Pikachu, Jessie saw that chance to capture it and told Meowth to up the power of the sucking machine even more, as the sucking machine started to suck up Pikachu again, but Ash snapped out of his shock and was able to grab Pikachu in his arms once again to save him. James didn't believe that the sucking machine was actually utilizing its full power, and Meowth realized it wasn't, so he quickly turned it up to maximum power. I don't know how the fuck this thing kept increasing its maximum power levels, but anyways, this power level was enough to lift even Ash off the ground as well, while he was holding Pikachu. But before he goes into the vacuum, Brock, May, Misty, and Max all managed to grab a hold of Ash's legs and pull him down, with Brock pulling Ash's legs, May pulling Brock, Max pulling May, and Misty pulling Max, essentially trying to use all their weight to keep them all on the ground. So Meowth quickly presses a button on the controller of the vacuum to change the direction of the sucking, to stop the sucking for a second, and then quickly resume it, trying to confuse Ash and the gang, and make Brock, May, Max, and Misty lose their hold on Ash, but they keep hanging on despite this, which causes Jessie to become angry and believe that Meowth just didn't know what the fuck he was doing, so she angrily pulls the controls from Meowth and attempts to operate the sucking machine herself, but instead of increasing its sucking power, because it was already on its maximum for real this time, she ended up just reversing the vacuum, much to Ash and the gang's shock, and James and Meowth's frustration as they scold Jessie, since the reversal of the vacuum caused Ash and the gang to land safely on the ground, along with all of their Pokemon, which were released from the vacuum. As all the Pokemon fell out of the vacuum, they were caught and happily reunited with their trainers. Jessie was even more angry now, and proceeded to try to operate the controls again, but she pushes and pulls all the controls so wildly that they start to short-circuit, and the machine gets overloaded and explodes as a result, which sends Team Rocket blasting off, and a huge cloud of smoke fills the area. It wasn't just Team Rocket who were affected by the explosion, though, as Pikachu, Cleffa, Azuro, Max, and Misty were sent flying back, as Misty quickly grabbed onto Cleffa, but either way, they were falling to the edge of a cliff close to a river. May tried to grab Max's hand before he fell, but unfortunately, she couldn't reach it in time, and as a result, Misty, Max, Cleffa, Pikachu, and Azuro fell down the river and were pulled away by the current, as Ash, Brock, and May watched in despair. After a while of being pulled around by the current, eventually the current calmed down, and Misty, Max, Pikachu, Cleffa, and Azuro were able to make it to shore that was surrounded by some rocks. Misty asked Max if he was okay, and Max confirms this, but when Misty and Max checked on Pikachu and Cleffa, they saw that they were hurt and tired, with Pikachu not only being hurt from the fall, but also being weak from the poison he received after being hit from Seviper's Poison Tail. Max got worried as he looked around and didn't see a single Pokemon Center in sight to heal Pikachu or Cleffa, but Misty assured Max that everything would be alright, as she and her Azurill could just take care of Pikachu and Cleffa, and Azurill does this by using its move called Refresh, which healed Cleffa and Pikachu back to full health. Now that Cleffa and Pikachu had recovered, Misty suggested that they go and find Ash, May, and Brock, and Max agreed, so they set off. With Max very much impressed by Azurill's Refresh move. He didn't know Azurill could learn Refresh, leaving Misty to explain that the attack worked by having Azurill glow, which signified that it was giving off some of its own energy, and once it hugged a Pokemon like Pikachu, it was able to pass on its own energy to that Pokemon to heal it. Meanwhile, back with May, Ash, and Brock, they were looking for Misty, Max, Pikachu, and Cleffa, walking along a path, with Brock utilizing Mudkip and its fin that functioned like a radar, having it lead the way. Ash was also carrying Misty's backpack, which she had dropped, but anyways, Mudkip unfortunately couldn't find anything with its radar, and was very tired out now. May started to get really worried as to where her brother and Misty could be, although Ash tried to reassure May that they were probably somewhere safe. But just then, even Ash got a little worried, as Ash, May, and Brock turned their attention to the clouds that were getting darker by a second, indicating that a storm was coming. They aren't the only ones who was worried about an incoming storm, though, as Ash, May, and Brock soon spotted a Clefable and a Clefairy that emerged from the bushes, calling out for their lost friend, presumably the Cleffa that was with Misty, Max, and Pikachu and Azurill. As soon as Brock realized this, though, the Clefable and Clefairy noticed Brock, May, and Ash, and quickly ran off back into the bushes, being more frightened by them than the storm. Meanwhile, back with Misty, Max, Cleffa, and Pikachu, they were looking for Brock, Ash, and May, and were a lot happier since they knew for a fact that Brock, Ash, and May weren't in danger. They just needed to find them. Along the way, Max complimented Misty on her Azurill's Refresh move, admitting that he would expect nothing less than an attack like that from a strong gym leader, and commented that his sister May could learn a lot from her, although Misty pointed out that Misty could probably actually learn a lot from May, and Max could learn a lot from both May and Ash, because May had made it into the top 8 in the Grand Festival, while Ash had made it into the top 8 in the Hoenn League, although Max clarified that 8th place was far from 1st place, so he didn't need to take advice from them that much. Just then, Cleffa seems to sense something and runs off extremely happily. Misty wondered what Cleffa had gone running off for, and Max suggested that Cleffa may want them to follow it, since it seemed pretty happy with them, and it was happy running off as well, so maybe it thought that Max and Misty would appreciate what it was looking for. So they followed after it, only to find that Cleffa had located a Peckberry tree, and was already chowing down on the berries when Max and Misty arrived to it, finding them extremely delicious. Max went from super excited to depressed, hoping that Cleffa would have led them to something more exciting. Or perhaps even their friends, but nope, just Peccaberries. But Misty assured Max that Peccaberries were the next best thing, because they were fucking delicious, and gave one to Pikachu to eat. After she picked it off from the tree, and sure enough, Pikachu absolutely loved it, which inspired Misty and even Max to collect a bunch of berries from the tree and start to eat them themselves on a large picnic blanket that Max happened to have with him somehow. Right before they could actually eat these berries, they were ambushed by a swarm of Beedrill that suddenly appeared from some bushes, and by swarm I meant 3. Obviously, these 3 Beedrill scared the fuck out of Misty because she was terrified by bug types, and Misty and Max hurriedly rush off with the picnic blanket now being used as a bag to carry the berries, and Cleffa and Azuro follow Misty and Max. The Beedrill were following all of them as well, though, giving chase, and this made Max, Azuro, and Cleffa panic, panicking so much that they weren't watching where they were going as they ran super fast, and they ended up running off a cliff and into a forest down below. Thankfully, despite the very far fall into the forest, they weren't severely injured because they landed on a large patch of thick, soft moss, which they bounced off of to make their fall softer. However, Misty and Max weren't relieved for long, as Misty and Max were frightened by the dark and gloominess of the forest. Also worried about how the fuck they would get out of this forest, because it seemed pretty remote, since Max's Pokénav didn't even have it registered. Misty then noticed the reason for the darkness and gloominess of the forest being dark clouds gathering above, indicating that it would rain soon. Sure enough, it begins to rain immediately after this, extremely hard, and not only that, there was some thunder and lightning as well, which Cleffa was startled by. So Max hugged it, trying to reassure it that it didn't need to be afraid, but that didn't mean that Misty and Max weren't annoyed with the rain and thunder and lightning, even if they weren't afraid. So they looked around for shelter, and thankfully for them, Misty spotted a small cave that they could use as shelter, so they quickly made their way inside. Meanwhile, we then see Ash, Brock, and May's perspective of the ever-worsening storm that was producing more lightning and thunder by the minute. It got so bad that Ash, May, and Brock had to go shelter under a tree, with Ash worrying about Pikachu, Azurill, Misty, Max, and Cleffa, worrying about what might happen to them in the storm. Although, Brock reassured him, reminding Ash that Misty was with them, so everything would be okay, since Misty knew what she was doing. As for May, she just cuddled her backpack, not able to say anything because she was too stressed out about Max, and how she had failed to save Max in time, despite her being his older sister, and she basically thought that it was her duty to protect him, and she failed. And as she replayed the scene where Max fell into the river with Misty, Cleffa, Pikachu, and Azurill, she declared that she would hope that he was okay and would do her best to get him back. Also, the Clefairy and Clefable from earlier were standing nearby, sheltering themselves under a huge leaf, which was big enough to cover them because they were so small. Meanwhile, back with Misty and Max, they were now relaxing in the cave and sheltering from the rain and the thunder and lightning with Pikachu, Cleffa, and Azurill. But they let Pikachu, Cleffa, and Azurill have the remainder of the Peccaberries, and after eating themselves completely full, they got tired and fell asleep, leaving Misty and Max to talk alone. Max brought the topic of the conversation to his annoying sister May, complaining about all the embarrassing things that his sister had done involving her Pokemon throughout their journey, and stated that he felt like May ignored him and his advice regarding Pokemon, even though he knew more than she did regarding Pokemon, just because he was her little brother. Stating his wish that May would at least give him a little bit of credit for helping out with her contest by giving her advice. In response to Max, Misty revealed that she actually had 3 older sisters, not just one, and admitted that she felt the same way as Max sometimes, wishing that her older sisters would give her credit for things as well, or just treat her more fairly. But she clarified that even though they sometimes got into arguments, and she wished that they would respect her more, she did care for them deep down, and she couldn't imagine her life without her sisters. And tried to convince Max that he had to have felt a little bit the same way, stating that May must have felt the same way for sure if she at least tried to reach Max when he fell after all. May must have cared for Max at least a little bit. And Misty added that even if May didn't take Max's advice, or didn't want his help a lot of the time, it was still his duty as her brother to give her advice and help her, and it was May's duty as Max's sister to give him advice and help him, stating that the same went for her and her sisters. Hearing this, Max started to feel a little guilty about the things they said about May, and realized that even if May was stubborn, he still needed to help her, because a brother-sister relationship was special, even if they constantly fought. Misty agreed, stating that a sibling bond was very important, so with that, they officially decided that once the storm cleared, they were going to go out and make sure May, Ash, and Brock were okay. Conveniently, Misty and Max looked outside the cave, and Misty was the first one to notice that the storm had entirely cleared up now, so it was safe to go out. So, Max and Misty went outside the cave after Pikachu, Cleffa, and Azurill woke up, and the 5 of them went to go look for Brock, May, and Ash, per Max's suggestion that they hurry the fuck up and find them quickly. Nearby, in another part of the forest, Ash, May, and Brock had decided to resume searching for Max, Misty, Pikachu, Azurill, and Cleffa, as well, with Clefairy and Clefable unknowingly accompanying them, still looking for Cleffa. As they searched, they eventually found fresh footprints belonging to Cleffa, Pikachu, Azurill, Max, and May, and followed them in a hurry, with May especially in a hurry to find Max. Meanwhile, back with Misty, Max, Azurill, Pikachu, and Cleffa, Misty and Max, with Misty carrying Azurill, were searching for Brock, Ash, and May, walking through a forest path, with Pikachu and Cleffa ahead of them, holding hands, skipping happily together. Suddenly, though, The happy Cleffa and Pikachu were disturbed when another strong wind, like the one from earlier, caused by Team Rocket, picked up, and just as Misty and Max came to the conclusion that Team Rocket's vacuum machine was probably responsible for this wind, yet again, Cleffa and Pikachu were both picked up by the strong wind and were about to be pulled in to, presumably, the vacuum. However, Max and Misty managed to grab a hold of Cleffa and Pikachu. With Misty grabbing a hold of Cleffa and Max grabbing a hold of Pikachu. Even then, though, the force of the vacuum was too much for even Max, and he was about to be pulled in with Pikachu. But just as he was about to be sucked into the vacuum, though, May suddenly appeared with Ash and Brock, and she grabbed Max's arm, happily exclaiming that she was able to save Max this time, as she pulled him to the ground. With May being able to place Max on the ground since the wind suddenly died down, indicating that something happened with Team Rocket. Pikachu happily jumped into Ash's arms, while Brock asked Misty if she was okay. As Misty confirmed this, Clefairy and Clefable, who had been following May, Ash, and Brock, showed up and happily reunited with their friend Cleffa. Right as everyone was celebrating that everyone was safe, May soon pointed out that it was odd that the wind had disappeared, and noted that Team Rocket must have been hiding now that everyone had arrived, perhaps trying to come up with an ambush plan. Not wanting this to happen, May and Max angrily told Team Rocket to stop hiding and show themselves, with May adding an extra flair to her declaration, since she was super angry with Team Rocket for putting her brother in danger again. Team Rocket obliged, revealing themselves as they float from deep in the forest in their Meowth balloon, which sure enough still had the vacuum attached. This wasn't ideal for Team Rocket, as they wanted to try and catch everyone off guard now that everyone was together, but they decided to reveal themselves and do their motto, with James's Chimecho joining in on the motto as well. When the motto was done, Misty made fun of them for the same thing that she did last episode, being how Team Rocket just kept following Ash and the gang and just wouldn't quit, but Team Rocket just ignored Misty, as Meowth declared that they were going to steal Pikachu once and for all, along with the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable, as Meowth pulled out the vacuum's controls that were also fixed along with the vacuum, and turned on the vacuum once more. Team Rocket danced, fully expecting their vacuum to be successful this time, but Clefable hung on to Cleffa and Clefairy, trying to use its extra weight to save the two of them, while Misty quickly had her Azurill use Bubble, which damaged the electrical vacuum, causing it to short-circuit and explode, sending Team Rocket's balloon crashing to the ground as well, leaving an injured Team Rocket frustrated at the fact that they weren't able to retrieve any Pokemon, including Pikachu, because Ash just kept holding onto it, and Misty held onto her Azurill as well. Ash and the gang, Azurill, Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable were all happy as fuck, seeing Team Rocket, as Jessie, James, and Meowth were all injured, and Wobbuffet and Chimecho were knocked out. And they thought that they had won, but unfortunately, Jessie was so angry at another defeat that she was able to get back up and declare that she was going to have Seviper try and steal Pikachu, sending it out, and James aided Seviper by sending out his Cacnea, who of course hugged him first. The Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable knew that some help may be needed to deal with the angry Team Rocket and their Pokemon, so they called out into the forest for their friends. And sure enough, several of their friends appeared out of some bushes to help them out, a whole bunch of Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable, which were led to the scene by the sheer loudness of the original Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable's calling. Instantly, all the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable shield Ash and gang, respecting them for wanting to go up against Team Rocket, and they all waved their hands in the air, using a metronome in an attempt to stop Team Rocket. While Team Rocket looked on, confused as fuck as to what Clefairy, Cleffa, and Clefable were doing, worried that it was like a curse of some shit. Much to May's surprise, apparently, Munchlax could use Metronome too, and it felt motivated by the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable not wanting to be left out of the battle. It could use Metronome too, and it proceeded to wave its arms in the air, helping Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable out by using a Metronome of its own, forcibly coming out of its Pokeball to do so. While the rest of the gang were also shocked by Munchlax's sudden metronome, the effects of the metronome started to kick in. The Cleffa just ended up using Splash, which caused Seviper and Cacnea to start bouncing up and down, and then the Clefable used Teeter Dance, causing Jessie and James to start dancing and bouncing up and down as well as Meowth. Jessie just laughed while she was dancing, saying that Team Rocket dancing couldn't stop them. They could still attack when they were dancing, but Jessie quickly shut the fuck up as they continued to dance along with Wobbuffet and Chimecho now, and they were dancing so wildly that they couldn't do anything aside from dance. To make matters worse for Team Rocket, the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable, and Munchlax, due to the effects of Metronome, now unleashing an even more powerful actual attack, all started to charge up a Solar Beam, and Meowth realized this, determining that Metronome must have worked by providing a distraction attack, such as Teeter Dance or Splash, while the Solar Beam was charged up while the dancing and splashing was going on. Jessie and James started to panic a little bit, and Jessie told Seviper to use Poison Tail, and James told Cacnea to use Needle Arm, hoping to stop the Munchlax, Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa before they could unleash the Solar Beam, but Ash refused to let the Needle Arm and Poison Tail hit, ordering Pikachu to use a Thunderbolt, which struck Cacnea and Seviper, stopping their attacks, and giving Munchlax, Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable enough time to charge up the Solar Beam. Team Rocket panicked even more now, and tried to run away from the Solar Beam, but the Solar Beam was launched simultaneously by Cleffa, Clefairy, Clefable, and Munchlax, and it launched, catching up to Team Rocket even as they ran away, causing a huge explosion that sent Team Rocket blasting off. Ash and the gang celebrated the fact that Team Rocket was gone, while May celebrated that Munchlax just learned a new attack, Metronome, and praised Munchlax for this, bending down and petting it, making Munchlax smile happily and proudly. Since it was proud to learn a new attack, obviously. Also happy were the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable. Not just happy because Team Rocket was gone, but happy that they had all reunited with the lost Cleffa. Now that the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable had all reunited, they marched off happily to Mount Moon. Misty mentioned that since there was going to be a full moon tonight, according to her Pokegear, the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable were probably going to perform a moon dance. May and Max didn't know what a moon dance was, even though Brock, Misty, and Ash did due to their experience with the Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa back in episode 6 of the whole series. So Brock explained to May and Max that Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable dance around a giant moonstone on Mount Moon. The moon dance only occurred near a moonstone, and it was meant as a ceremony to celebrate something that the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable worshipped. Max was eager to see this dance and asked if they could all go watch, and Brock stated that they should go watch since Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable now trusted them. Normally, they may be against humans watching, but since they earn their trust, they should be able to watch. So, Ash and the gang follow the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable, with May, Brock, Ash, and Misty now as excited to watch as Max. And later that night, Ash and the gang arrived with the Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable in the depths of Mount Moon, and Ash and the gang watched intently as Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa all performed their ritual dance around the moonstone, under the moonlight, making everyone watching happy, as well as the Clefable, Clefairy, and Cleffa as they were doing the ritual. May and Max were especially amazed, with this being the first time they'd ever seen this. The next morning, after Ash and the gang had slept near Mount Moon, they decided to continue on their journey towards Cerulean City. Discussing what had happened the night before during the Clefairy, Cleffa, and Clefable's ritual, still absolutely amazed by it. Just then, though, Misty received another call on her Pokegear and found out that it was her sister, Daisy again, so Misty hurriedly answered it, as Daisy demanded to know where the fuck Misty was, requesting that she hurry back to the gym as fast as possible, warning that if Misty didn't get the fuck back, then she would give out the badges for free. Misty assured Daisy that she was very close and begged her not to give the badges, promising that she would be at the gym shortly, and ended the call. Although Daisy ended the call first, out of pure frustration with Misty. After some more walking, Ash and the gang then reached a crossroad, and it was at this crossroads that Misty had to take the other fork in the road, as opposed to Ash and the gang, since she actually had to go to Cerulean City, while Ash and the gang had to go past Cerulean City to the Battle Factory. So, as Misty took the other fork in the road, along with her Azurill, Misty wished Ash good luck for his Battle Frontier challenges, and Ash wished Misty good luck with her gym leader duties. Misty then wishes good luck to May as well, telling her that she would be watching all of her contests and cheer for her, leading May to thank her. Then Misty leans down to Max and reminds him of the talk they had in the cave about always taking care of their sisters, and Max smiled, promising to do his best with taking care of his sister, while May listened to this, unsure of what Max meant by this. Misty confirms that she would take care of her sisters as well, and with that, she goes in the other direction, away from Ash, Brock, Max, and May, as she goes back to Cerulean City to resume her gym leader duties, while Ash and the gang make their way to the Battle Factory, the first facility of the Battle Frontier, with both Ash and the gang and Misty wondering what their futures may look like.